Welcome to Writing While Black, the podcast where we pull up to the kitchen table and have real conversations about writing that the craft world keeps avoiding. I'm your host, High Priestess Lakeisha. So get you a plate, something to drink, and pull up a chair, beloved. Let's talk about writing while black. If you read my essay from Sunday called The Two Drafts, I wrote about the silence wound. Today, we're going somewhere deeper. Today, we're going to talk about the body, specifically what we were taught to do with our bodies, what we were taught to do with feelings, and how that conditioning has spilled over into our writing practice without most of us ever making that connection. Something I say a lot is that the writing world tends to treat writers like nothing more than a body with a pen, but you can't separate the writer from their body. And if the writer and their body were taught that feeling is wrong, that sensation is weakness, that you should just push through and pray through and keep going no matter what, all of that shows up on the page. So let's get into it. I want to start with something that might feel far off from writing, so stay with me. Many of us, particularly Black and brown people, particularly women, we grew up in environments where the body was something to be managed, something to be overridden. And for some of us, we were taught that the body was something that should be beaten into submission, sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically. We were taught to push through the pain, don't cry, stop being so sensitive, you're too emotional, toughen up. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that. So strength looked like not feeling at all. Or more accurately, it looked like feeling, but not showing it. Feeling, but not responding to it. Feeling and continuing anyway, like the feeling wasn't even there. And sure, there's wisdom in that. Our people, they survived by learning to keep moving and to keep adapting. That's one of the beautiful things about our culture. So that's nothing to downplay. That's our ancestral power. And I do want to acknowledge that. But some of those survival strategies, they have a shelf life. What kept our foremothers and forefathers moving through unbearable circumstances can become a reflex that kind of overrides information we actually need. And like I said in the essay, reflexes live in the body. So what does it feel like when you open a document and something in you goes tight? It starts to constrict. Most of us were never taught to ask that question. We were taught to ignore it. We were taught to open the document and just push through the resistance anyway. We were taught that the feeling itself is an obstacle to overcome, not that the feeling is actually a message. So what does any of this have to do with writing? Well, everything. The silence wound, the reflex that deletes the sentence before you even know you're going to delete it, the reflex that softens the claim, that translates your voice into something more acceptable before anyone asks. Again, it's a wound, and it's a wound that lives in the body, not the mind. It's not a thought you can argue yourself out of. It's a physiological response. Your nervous system is assessing a threat and is responding accordingly. That's how the nervous system works. And if you were never taught to listen to your body, if you were one of the ones like me who was taught the opposite, that the body's signals are obstacles to override, you will never catch this wound when it's operating, because catching it requires you to notice it. And in order to notice it, that requires you to be in relationship with the thing that's having the feelings in the first place, which is your body. I've been doing this work for a while, so I am well aware of what I'm asking a writer to do when I say, pay attention to what happens in your body when you write. I am asking the writer to do something they may have been actively trained and conditioned not to do. Something their family, their community, their culture, their survival may have depended on them not doing, like at all. So it's not a small ask, and I know that. What it really is a reclamation assignment. So let me tell you about something that happened to me recently, because I think it illustrates everything I just said. So a couple of months ago, I felt called to pull cards for the collective and to write up the reading and share it on Substack. And I did that. I pulled the cards. I wrote it exactly the way Spirit gave it to me. It was raw. It was direct. And I let it sit for an hour or two. And then I went back to edit it. And I started editing it down to the ground. I even debated back and forth with Spirit, like, really? I can't say it like that. I mean, it's going to piss everybody off, or somebody's going to get offended. I was doing the thing in real time. I was taking the potency out of something that Spirit had specifically given me in a form for a reason, because it needed to land a certain way. And I was sanding it down because my body was afraid of the response. And then Spirit, very lovingly, got my ass all the way together. And their message to me was essentially this: yes, delivery matters. We should always use care in our communication, but sometimes things need to be said in a specific way so it can land the way it needs to land. Put back everything you deleted and put it back exactly the way it was. They were so over my nonsense that day. And if you're wondering, yes, I did. I put everything back exactly the way it was. I did a quick proofread for spelling and grammar because, I'm an editor. And then I published it before my fear got the better of me again. Then came the hard part, which was sitting with that. Sitting with the fact that it was out there in the world, on the internet, for whoever needed that reading. As raw and direct, as edge-snatching as it was out there for the wild, wild web to read. So here's what I want you to take away from that story. I know this work. I teach this work. I built my career helping other writers find their truest voice on the page. And I still had to be corrected in real time by Spirit. The body's conditioning is really that deep, y'all. It doesn't care about what you know. It cares about what you feel safe. The silence wound, it doesn't make exceptions for how long you've been on your healing journey or how much you understand about the writing craft. I've been on my healing journey for a long time. I know tons about writing craft. I've been an editor for years, but this wound doesn't make an exception for me. This wound operates from the nervous system, and the nervous system learned what it learned a long time ago. That's not something that can very easily be undone. So what do we actually do with all this? I'm not going to give you some 5-step system. That's just overwhelm. Nervous system work requires a gentle approach. You can't bulldoze it because it'll only respond back with more force. It matches energy. But what I will say is this. The work starts with noticing. Before you can change anything, you have to be willing to feel it. Not analyze it, not try to fix it right away, just feel it. What does your body do when you open the document or when you start writing the sentence that you know is going to make somebody clutch their pearls? What does your body do? Where does the tightness live? What happens in your chest? What do your hands do? Do they shake? Do they tremble? Do they start sweating? What does your body do? These aren't rhetorical questions. They are the beginning of a somatic writing practice. Learning to be in your body while you write, instead of writing from somewhere above it or even outside of it. And I want to say something specifically to the Black and brown writers in this space. Listening to your body is not self-indulgence. It's not weakness. It's not the opposite of discipline. It's not wrong. It's the reclaiming of info that was systematically taken from us. The right to feel what we feel, to let the body speak, to treat its signals as data instead of obstacles or incorrectness. Our ancestors survived by overriding their bodies. They had to. Times were different back then. But we get to survive differently. We get to write from them. So to wrap things up, Sunday's essay was about what the silence wound does on the page. And this episode was about where that all comes from. Not just the system, but the body, the conditioning, the 1,000 messages about what to do with feeling, or more accurately, how to not feel. So you're not broken, you're not undisciplined, you're not someone who just needs better writing habits. You're simply a writer whose body learned things that made sense at one time, and who now gets to learn something different. So that's the work. And yes, it's slower than any productivity system you can find on the internet. But yes, it's also worth every single minute. If you're ready to begin this work in a structured container, Write from the Wound is a 7-day shadow work journey built for exactly this. Not to push through the resistance, but to understand what it's been protecting. The link and all the details will be in the show notes. Take care of and listen to your body this week. I'll see you next time. And that's where we'll leave it for today. If something we talked about landed for you, sit with it. Journal on it. Let it do what it needs to do. Show notes are in the description with everything we mentioned and more. If this episode found you at the right moment, share it with a writer who needs it. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Until next time, beloved, keep writing from your truth. Ashe.